You probably heard Jack Swagger's books, Market Wizards and New Market Wizards and Unknown Market Wizards and a couple other things he's done. I can't remember the other titles, but in my opinion, the first two were the best. And I wasn't really all that impressed with the other ones after that. But I remember buying those books, going down to no graphs of any kind that made any kind of excitement for me. And I'm thinking, okay, well, they're just going to talk about it then. So I put it aside for a couple weeks, actually. Read other books that I had purchased. And then out of morbid curiosity and the fact that I spent the money on it, I grabbed it and started going through it. And I was actually intrigued to listen to these individuals talk about their experience, which is honestly where I am today as an educator and I guess you can say a trading influencer. That I like to see how other traders think. I'm not really interested in what they use for their techniques of trading. I'm not all that terribly interested in that. Sometimes, depending upon the person or personality, I might ask a question or two just to get a feel for what it is that they're doing. What style of trading are they? Day traders, short-term traders, something to that effect. Review on books that I felt were influential to me, and they inspired me. Some of the experiences that these investors had coming up, and they don't really go into detail on how they trade, which is nice because it left it ambiguous. It left the reader wondering what wizardry they did. And because of that title of that book, it made me pursue knowledge that would otherwise be referred to as real market wizardry. And I was convinced as a young man that I could find that in indicators, in applying different strategies, and going in and trying to find strategies that worked well in specific areas and trying to improve upon what it is that they did. I wasted a lot of time trying to fix things that I knew were broken in other strategies and other approaches. And I coded different approaches to the classic indicators you're all aware of and use now today that I don't touch anymore. And I tinkered with everything, trying to find my own little Harry Potter experiment, trying to find my own wand. And I found out that everything that I was trying to mess around with to do these superhuman feats of accuracy. See, that's one of the things that if you go through those books, like me, I was waited on bated breath, waiting for them to teach something that no one else would teach you, that you would never find anywhere else. Because they did an interview with this guy, Jack. He or some secret concept or approach to getting in there and finding a secret move that no one else could do. And while each new interview, I was waiting for one of them to step forward and do that. At the end of the book, I forgot about it because I enjoyed the dialogue between Jack and these individuals talking about their experiences. Some better than others. Obviously, there's a few of them in there that I wasn't really all impressed with, but everybody's going to have their own opinion about, just like they have opinions about me, and I have, opinions like everything else. Like, everybody has it, but who gives a shit, really. But at the end of the book, while I was thinking about how I enjoyed it, it got me thinking about how I went into the book with something else. Something else put me into that book. It was the title, Market Wizards. It was a great title. Great title. And while it didn't deliver on my initial expectations as a trading book, even though, yes, I read the dust cover and it was interviews with traders that did well in the industry, I was expecting Just like some of you now, every time I do a video, you're expecting some new technique, some wizardry. And what I've learned over the years is that while I was a younger man expecting other people to share their secrets, their market wizardry, their price chart alchemy, they really didn't do it. They really didn't deliver any of that. They just talked about what everybody else talked about. And I was expecting someone to do a better job on spinning the retail stuff that everybody sees. And every time, every single time, a new book, a new course, a new something or other, it would be the same boring bullshit. Wouldn't get anything new from it at all. And then I started pursuing my own studies. And I started thinking to myself, okay, and think about this as I ask you this question. If you've never thought about it, think about it right now. If there really were market wizards, traders that were able to do things that were just a cut above everything else that you'd seen before, something just really separates what they do from everything else, what would it look like? Well, I got to thinking when I was coming up, like a superpower. You know, my sons, when they were growing up, and my youngest still, he's a little bit slower than the average person. I mentioned he was harmed by a vaccine when he was born. And while he's not terribly slow, he's noticeably slower than the rest of my kids. Bright child, very artistic, very creative, but he's slower academically. And sometimes he still talks to me like a little kid. And he'll ask me, he'll say, Dad, if you could be a superhero, what superpowers would you pick? It's almost like he forgets that he asks me this question. Every 3 or 4 months, he'll ask it, and I'll tell him, something different, because I know he's asked the question before, but I want to treat it like it's a new conversation and a new opportunity to, broaden his opinion about what it is that we're talking about. So because of that conversation with my youngest son, it made me think about this tonight and how I came up learning these things, developing these things, being inspired by how these markets really book price, and really taking a step away from what everybody else and what I was introduced to, like everybody else is. You read the same stuff. Everybody looks at the same thing, the same books, the same strategies, the trend lines and all that stuff. And there are people out there that make money with that. Absolutely. But my opinion, and this is simply my opinion, it may differ with you, and you may not agree with what I'm about to say, but just because someone makes a lot of money, I don't really think that makes them a market wizard. It makes them an extremely profitable trader. Absolutely. That's skill. That is absolute skill. There's no denying that. But I don't really see that as a market wizard. To me, that conjures up ideas of precision, accuracy, foresight, higher strike rate than the average trader, knowing not to go into areas where it's not likely to do well, where other traders that are extremely profitable, they'll take more losses because they're comfortable with taking losses and they're comfortable with coming out of drawdown. Whereas, in my opinion, a market wizard would be abstaining from that and knowing when not to do those things. So when I was a younger man, I made a list of things that I wanted to really focus on. One of them, obviously, I mentioned this many times in passing. And if you're a new listener, I'll just toss it in here because you may not have heard it yet, but you probably will if you go through all the stuff that's on my YouTube channel. But one of the first mentors to me, and I've never met this man, so please don't bother him like other people have done. But Larry Williams, I purchased everything that man put out when I was a younger guy. Whatever he did, I bought it. If he had an article that he did, wherever he did anything, I got it.